We're live. Welcome to TV Collects. This is Tyler. I did it right, and that's Shane, and that's my dog back there. Dogs are back there. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of TB Talks. This is going to be an interview show that I'm going to try and do weekly. I don't know. See how this goes. This is the first one. And I'm so happy to have on as my first guest, Shane at Dawn of Comics. Hey, Shane, how's it going?
All good. Thank you for having me.
It's funny. I've always wanted to do an interview show. I just didn't know like what the content would be, and starting YouTube, I just was like, man, there's lots of shows out there that I like watching. And I started watching you on the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club is how I came across. Well, actually, you were like one of the first people to comment on my videos. So I wanted to say thanks so much because you were like one of the first people to like kind of say hello and just comment and, just engage. And I think that's the great part about this whole YouTube thing, So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for putting out content that made me want to communicate with you.
And when I found Nerd Herd, I was like, this is what I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to have a weekly comic book review show. That was like my thought. And I'm like, they already did it. Damn it. Like, I can't do it now.
Beat you to it.
I know. And then I like got to know all you guys. And it's been really cool just finding a bunch of you UK guys because it's so awesome that we can talk like this across the world and different time zones and, connect on something, in this terrible time that we're in with COVID and everything. So
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you joining, and you had me on your show. So if you guys haven't checked out Shane's channel, he does a quiz show once a month, and I did terribly. I was awful.
Don't get a little salty about it.
If you haven't checked it out, check out Shane's channel, Dawn of Comics. He's on Instagram at Dawn of Comics. He's on the Nerd Herd. Check out all those things. So really, with this show, what I want to do is kind of get to know someone in the community and just pick their brain. And also, one of the things I want to learn about is people's favorite things, their favorite runs, their favorite artists, the favorite authors, anything that I can look into, because you personally have turned me on to a few things that I didn't think I would like. So you commented on recently on my DC mystery box that I should read Young Justice. And
Absolutely.
You were like, this is like one of my favorites. You should check it out. Well, I did finish it, and I'm happy to say that I loved it. It was great.
Awesome.
I'll talk to you about it because you know about this. So it was like to me, it felt like it could be a cartoon show. You know what I mean? Like the comics themselves, like felt like a cartoon show. It was like the art is great in it. The characters are funny. It felt like kind of like I didn't think I would relate to the teenage aspect of it, because they're younger. And so that was always why I was kind of steered away from like Teen Titans or any of those kind of things. But it was a lot of fun, and it was funny, and it was well written, and they made fun of comics in it. It was, so thank you for that. I'll just say,
I'm just glad you liked it. The worst thing you can do is suggest a book to someone because you love it so much, and then they read it and they hate it. I mean, for example, the Nerd Herd each week, we're all suggesting books that we love, and then the three others will just tear it to bits in front of you.
Exactly. That is the worry, because you're like, man, I love this. How are other people gonna? So before we get too far in here, this show is also going to be like extremely community focused, because this is how I found you guys. Is you guys involved me into it. You involve other people into it. So I want to quickly shout out Scott Shelf, who is one of your fellow nerd herders. Hey, Scott, thanks for joining us. We have Sean the Noob. Hey, Sean, thanks for joining. I think you're going to have a show tomorrow night on Panels and Pints. I think I saw you guys. We got Welsh Liam. Welsh Liam. My favorite Liam is Welsh Liam. So hey. Yeah, so I want, with my vision for this show, is just to kind of hang out and talk about how people got into comics, and then I have sent Shane a list of of 5 categories where he would have to bring something to show for those categories. So we'll get into that in just a little bit, but first I just want to start out with where you're from. Did you grow up there? I know you're from London, right? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Did you grow
London,
up there?
born and raised. Yes.
Okay.
My
How,
whole life.
like,
I've moved around, but pretty much stayed in London.
okay. And growing up, did you collect comics when you were younger?
Not when I was really young. When I was, preteen, we didn't really have any comic shops, so it was all TV shows, reruns of Adam West and Linda Carter, and all the cartoons that were out. You had your X-Men and Batman and things like that. And I did collect some figures if I could get them at the toy shop, but again, we had such a small selection. There was nothing major you could have. I might get one Avenger one week, one X-Man another week. There wasn't many you could choose from.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't until I went to secondary school and the news agents by my school started selling actual American comics.
Okay, quick, before we continue, you guys say news agents. Does that mean like a newsstand on the side of the street? What is a news agent?
Like a convenience store.
Okay, yeah, just like a mom and pop convenience store or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. I've heard multiple of you UK guys say news agents, and I'm like, I don't know what a news agent is. I don't get that term. So
Where you go to
you
get the
didn't have like
newspaper.
you didn't have any like comic book shops that you could go to at all. Yeah.
I found one when I was about, I must have been about 11 or 12, and I was just out and about with my cousin, and we found one that was closing down. So we went in and just spent our pocket money on super cheap comics. Every comic was 25 pence, and every trading card was 5p. So we just spent all our money on those.
That's
and
awesome.
That's when it was because I went through the box and I found some Wonder Woman comics, and I was like, yep, this is my girl now.
Yes, I have watched a couple videos where you've talked about, was Wonder Woman the first comic that you ever bought?
Yes.
The Gods Immortals run, is that?
Yeah, her first volume, second volume.
That's second volume. Okay.
Yeah, I think I got like 5 or 6 issues, and they ranged from excuse me, from like issue 16 to issue 20 something. Like there was just a few odd issues here and there, because that's all the comic shop had. And I didn't go back until a lot later to complete that run. But in the meantime, I did find League of One, which is one of my all-time favorite Wonder Woman stories, where she has to protect the League by beating the crap out of them. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty similar to here. Like, I know that there was comic shops somewhere, because I live in Louisville, Kentucky, and they were around, but they weren't in my. When I was a kid, I wasn't really in that. My exposure was like, we have this like not warehouse, but like it's like a discount store called Big Lots, and they like get like overstock shit from other stores, and then they sell it at like discounted prices. And I remember as a kid vividly getting like one of those little like 5-packs of X-Men comics, and they were like the super 90s shiny foil cover, like the really boom in your face 90s stuff. Yeah. And that, like, I remember going there, but I never went into like a comic shop. So that was much later on in my collecting career, but that's cool. So when you grew up in London, when did you start going to like actual comic shops and like really getting into that?
That wasn't until I was like proper fully, because I did have one comic shop that I discovered a few years after. I think I was about 14 or 15. So I had one comic shop. So if he didn't have anything in the back issues, I didn't have anything to get. So I think I would go in there every week to look for a Wonder Woman comic, but he very rarely got back issues. So it was very trickling down. I would get one every month or so from him. And then when I was in my 20s and I started going into the center of London, where you're just bombarded with comic shop after comic shop. So I would visit 4 or 5 of them a day, and that's when my collecting just went through the roof.
It's crazy because I think about it now, and I don't know if it's like the geek boom, that like being geeky is okay now, but there's like 7 places now in Louisville that you can go to find different shops that have comics, and that's like dedicated comic geek shops. There are also like these stores called Half Price Books, which are like a discount bookstore, but they sell graphic novels and stuff and comics that people bring in too. So like if I had to think, there's probably like 10 or 11 places I could go at any time to go. And I don't know, I don't remember that growing up. So I don't know if I just wasn't aware of it, or if it's like a boom because being geeky is cool now, or whatever.
It's possible. But I was never traveling into London as a teenager. It was too far to travel, and you don't do things like that in your early teens. So I didn't know if they were all there. But finding those comic shops made me a serious geek. I discovered every single female character was just fantastic, and I had to collect everything.
That's awesome.
That's the problem. It starts out you just want one thing. And then that one thing turns into 2 things. And
I am very aware of that. Real quick, I'll say hi to Highland G. What's up? Nice to see you. And Mr. Andy at Perpetual Comics. What's up, man? So when I've looked at your channel and you have some old videos on there. So when did you start making YouTube videos, or what prompted that?
Years and years ago, when I set my YouTube channel up, I didn't really intend on doing anything. I just set it up, just to have it, because you had to sort of grab a username at the time, because if someone else grabbed it, you could never get it again. And I wanted the URL on.
That's true, yeah.
Because back in the day, you could have your own personalized URL on YouTube straight away. You didn't have to have a certain amount of subscribers or anything. You could just have your personalized URL. So I grabbed it straight away. And I didn't put anything up for years. And then I started putting up random things that I've deleted since. They were just like videos of me out and about and at clubs and, Kelly Rowland concerts and stuff like that. And then my comic collection was just growing and growing and growing. And I used to just like to sit there and look through my collection. I used to like to flick through and have a look. And I thought, while I'm doing it, why not just record it, put it up on YouTube? So I just did that with my trading cards and my comics, because I had a lot less at the time, so it was easier to do.
Yeah. It's always interesting to me to hear how people like get into YouTube, how it starts and what prompted it. Or so it was just kind of just getting your hobbies out there and just sharing it with whoever.
Whoever wanted to see.
That's awesome.
And then everything happened and I had free time, so I started it back up in a different way.
Yeah. I've noticed that a lot of people say that some people have had multiple channels, or they start out their YouTube and then it progresses or grows or changes, or they find what they like to do, which, I mean, I'm very new to YouTube, and it was purely out of I don't have anybody to talk to about this geeky shit. So I'm like, I need some outlet to find other people that like geeky shit like me. And I'm honestly not like, I was never a big collector. I've been in and out of comics, but I've always collected. That's kind of why my channel is called TB Collects and not like TB Comics, because I've always been a collector my whole life. It's just, I have trouble focusing. I have like ADD of like, I want everything. There's so much cool stuff in the world. And so it was it was kind of just like one of those things. I was like, okay, if I do this, maybe I'll focus on like collecting stuff and putting videos out. So it's interesting to me to hear how everybody gets started. And I've noticed that a lot of people are the same way, that, they start out with one thing and then their channel shifts or whatever, or they don't like the way they're doing things. And I've noticed it myself of like, I was doing a lot more hauls and stuff like that. Now I want to kind of get into this of live streaming and interviewing and that kind of stuff. It seems like a lot of fun. So trying it out. Like I said, I'm going to try and do weekly, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, so I started the same way. I needed to talk to someone. I didn't need to talk. I had no one to talk to about comics, so I just wanted to talk out loud. And I was surprised that anyone watched my videos. They were really just for me, just to talk about the comics that I'm reading and the collections. But now I have changed. I found I'm enjoying doing read and reacts a lot more than actually being on camera. I prefer to just talk about that specific comic in that video. So it's one video about each comic. So I'm really enjoying that.
So I'm really glad you brought this up, because I think those videos are my favorite. Your read and reacts. My Mrs. TB Collects loves your read and reacts videos, thinks they're hilarious, because if you guys haven't ever seen one of Shane's read and react videos, especially the Future State line of videos, he does not hold back. It is brutally honest. But
I'm fair. The good ones get compliments.
You do.
I'm not singling them all out.
Noob says I prefer to call it Shane vent. That is very true. He is venting sometimes, but it's important, I think, because I've heard a lot, and this is kind of something I wanted to get into with you, is that I found that I am very biased towards Batman and indies. And like, especially on your quiz, I found that I should probably read some damn Marvel, because I don't know anything about Marvel. But what I wanted to talk with you about is like how it feels to me that like indies have so much more freedom with their characters. And so I think that's what I'm leaning more towards. But there is still some really good DC stuff out there. I don't know about Marvel, unfortunately, but like, it kind of, I like that you're honest about it. It was like, these characters and these fans deserve better, writing, better art, better everything, because this is the cream of the crop, or it should be, so I just wanted to talk with you about that and how you felt, about recent comics.
Recent comics. Okay, I don't have a problem with new characters. You can create, it's fantastic to create new characters. Without new characters, we wouldn't have Harlequin. We wouldn't have Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz. So it's fantastic. But when they take an established character's name and just give it to a new character to try and boost that character, that's just insulting to both the original character and this new character. You have given the name Wonder Woman to a new person. You've given the name Batman to a new person. You haven't established those characters. You haven't built them up. You haven't given them any respect. You're just assuming that no one will read these characters unless they have the name Batman or Wonder Woman on the book. And that's just insulting to everyone, because there's just no need for it.
You put it perfectly in one of your read and reacts. You said people like Batman because he's Bruce Wayne, not because he's Batman. And I was like,
that's right.
That is absolutely right. I don't care. I mean, to me anyway, Batman is about the detective and his villains. That's the two things that I love Batman for, and that's why I have all
his
Batman.
Moral compass. He won't kill. He has his line that he's never going to cross. But now if you give that name to someone else, I don't know that character. I don't know what his line is. I don't know what his limits are. I don't know what his motivations are. It just doesn't work. Just make him his own character. He can still be in the Bat universe. Just make him a new character.
And I'm the same way. I'm like, and I think that's where I have problems is create new characters. They're great characters. You guys just reviewed Court of Owls, one of the best Batman stories of all time. Arguably the top 5 for most people, I would think, with a new villain that was great. And not only a new villain, but like the whole court. And you can do that. Like, and that's the thing is, I think there are a lot of possibilities there, and they get stuck in this like, we have to make this character change or whatever, but like, why not just do a new character or a new series, or bring them into someone else's book or something?
It's because these writers don't have that talent. They don't have the skill to create, or they don't have the confidence in their character. So if they have this character and they really like the character, they feel like that character should be boosted straight up instead of building his reputation and making him someone that buyers and comic book collectors really enjoy. They just take him from here and just put him straight up here because they've given him Batman's name now. So they know everyone that collects Batman is going to buy that book no matter what.
Yeah.
And it did get better. The first issue was absolutely dreadful, but after that it was good. But that's not because he was Batman. It's because the writing, the character.
I completely agree, because Dark Detective was great. I love Dark Detective, and that had Bruce in it. So, I mean, but also because Dan Mora, but that's besides the point. But because that,
listening.
I know, so I don't want to trigger Scott. So real quick, we'll jump it. Andy says that Marvel doesn't know anything about Marvel, so at least I'm not the only one. And Noob knows what's up because he says Batman and Indies for the win. That's for sure. Highland G brings up, big companies care more about continuing the IP than the actual characters. We fans care more about characters on the mask and how far they progress over time. I think that's like hitting it on the head, is that it's an impossible task for them because we give so much more shits about that than they do. Because at the end of the day, DC and Marvel want to make money. They don't. That's what they're in this for. But as fans,
you wouldn't know it from what they're putting out at the moment.
I know, and I think it was so this is my wife. There you go. Love the Read and Reacts Tyler and I have watched. I told you.
Thank you.
So that's Mrs. TV. Yeah, so it was just, I think it was Charlie and Andy and those guys were talking about how they feel like Marvel and DC can just kind of put out anything and the name will carry it, a Superman, a Spider-Man, whatever is going to carry it, and they can just put out whatever story. And we're really seeing that like brought out, because I don't read Spider-Man personally, but I've heard that it's been terrible for a long time. And that's your character. That's your, like, Spider-Man is Marvel. Like, and it just, it boggles my mind.
Because if the writers can't even respect him, why do they expect us to respect the character anymore? You have to give and take with your audience. And if you refuse to do that, then you lose your audience. I know they
but
some people, obviously, I'm the same. I certain books I won't drop because I am a completionist, and I know if I drop it because it's terrible and then I pick it up again, I'm then going to have to go back and get those issues anyway. So like Wonder Woman for me, New 52 Wonder Woman, absolutely fantastic. And then Rebirth Wonder Woman, absolute garbage. And then the renumbering happened and it was okay. But now it's getting better again, but I've collected it from the start. So I'm to blame because I'm still giving them my money.
Because you're still giving them money, even though it's not.
Exactly. So as much as this is why I won't moan about Wonder Woman, because I know I'm to blame here as well for giving the book. But Batgirl I will moan about, because when they turned her into that tween cosplayer and just completely told me that's not for me anymore, just completely stopped with it. And then Sean Murphy brought it back with a new design and I started picking it up again. It was fantastic. So they are capable of producing good stories. It just seems like they don't want to. They just want the quick fix.
I don't know. There's a lot of factors. I mean, obviously, people that read the books are one type of fan, because I know there are a lot of people that just buy covers and buy spec and that kind of stuff. So I get it. There are other factors, but real quick, I'll say what's up to Comic Bound. Hey guys, can't watch live, just walking home. I'll catch the replay. Thanks for checking in, Comic Bound. Whoa, Andy. Dan Moore is the most overrated artist in the business. Wow.
What are you? I think Andy wants a fight with Scott. I think Dan Moore's art is lovely. I think everything.
Okay. So this has already gone way off the rails, but I don't really care because we're talking about comic books. So I think recently I've gotten more into the stylized artists, that have a style. My first the first book that I ever got, like really, like I got those like 5 packs of crappy old Marvel books when I was a kid, but I never really paid any attention to them. My first real collecting, I got Hush. That was my introduction to all of comics. Like,
oh, what a
so
great. Oh, kind of a bad stepping on point, because it was kind of a bit downhill after that. You started at the top. Ouch.
So that was my first ever book. So I'm like, okay, I'm starting with Jim Lee. What do I do? I mean, what do you do? Like, to me, Jim Lee Hush is the standard. You know, that's there. And so I always kind of had that sort of like, okay, I like the mostly realistic style. But now, as I've gotten older and I think opened my collection up a little bit more and found other things, I really like the stylized, like the Sean Murphy, the White Knight Batman stuff is amazing. I love Dan Mora, and he's kind of stylized. I mean, he is stylized. Matteo Scalera, I love. You know, like I really love the stylized because I think I'm just gravitating away from like because I love Alex Ross too. It's beautiful. You have to appreciate that. But I think I'm more gravitating towards the stylized artists, which, you know, that's great. So
yeah, I mean, you can't beat people like Dan Mora when he not only does that amazing artwork for the characters, but his backgrounds. And
definitely,
I mean, come on.
It's okay. We could go. All right. We're not going to turn this into a
Dan Moore appreciation fan club.
Scott's still here. I don't know. Someone check on Scott. Jeez. Okay. So that was a little introduction, and now this is the portion of the show where I'm going to give you an either or, and you have to pick one. There's just a few of these, but we'll discuss a little bit. But first question: beer or liquor?
Beer.
Beer. Okay. What's your favorite type of beer? Do you have a favorite type, or do you just drink any beer?
The Coors Light is my favorite, closely followed by Bud. Yeah, I like a nice.
This is amazing to me. Like, you're like, I love Coors Light, and I'm like, aren't you guys like UK guys supposed to have like bitters and whatever? Like,
no,
warm
nice
beer. And
no, nice cold bottle of beer. Yeah, it has to be a bottle as well. I don't do cans.
Okay.
Doesn't taste right from a can.
So no liquor at all, or that was the
I don't mind it. Southern Comfort is is the only thing I can drink. I think I overdid it on the vodka, playing vodka chess one time, and having to drink like 26 shots of vodka when you lose a game of chess is a bit much. It put me right off.
Captain Morgan's is that way for me. I will never ever drink Captain Morgan's again.
Spiced. Captain Morgan spiced is actually really good with Coke. It tastes like
that's what Coke. I was drinking. I was drinking Captain Morgan spiced with Coke, and never again. But
so
okay.
You have to answer as well.
Okay. I drink mostly IPAs. That's what I'm drinking right now, is a Founders All Day IPAs, which are like super bitter, India Pale Ales, which are high alcohol. If I'm drinking liquor, it's bourbon. I mean, I'm from Kentucky. I have to drink bourbon, but
it's in the Constitution, isn't it? Like, you have to, if you live there.
When we're born, they give us a little tiny bottle of bourbon, and it's with a little nipple on it. So
get you hooked nice and early.
Yeah, exactly. And then if I'm like on vacation, I think Andy was talking about this, or maybe it was Phil. No, it was Phil was saying. So you get a little Bacardi and ginger ale with a lime. But I do Bacardi Superior, which is the non-spiced rum. So, but it is so refreshing. It's fantastic. So try it. Okay, next question. Brittany or Christina?
Oh, that's a hard one. For different reasons. Brittany.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked Christina Aguilera, I'm not going to lie. We are talking about Christina Aguilera.
Yes, Britney Spears versus Christina Aguilera is what we're talking about.
Christina just went a little bit crazy for me. I prefer the more clean cut Britney.
I feel like back in those days, you were either one or the other. You know, like you had to be Team Britney or Team Christina. At least it was over here in America. It was, you know. And like,
everyone had to go around with a badge on so you could be easily identified.
no, you just like, you know, because growing up in like the 90s, it was like that boy bands and Christina and all that stuff and Britney and all that. And it was like, Britney was like the, Christina was kind of edgy. She, you know, she was kind of a little more, Britney was like, you know, the first Hit Me Baby One More Time. She's like in the schoolgirl outfit. She's a little more proper, I guess is what you would say.
Yeah, and although Christina does sing one of my all-time favorite Disney songs, Reflections, and I love it. It's my favorite song from her.
What's that from? Is that
Mulan?
From Mulan? I know you like Mulan.
Yeah, Mulan is fantastic, and she sings the main song from that, which is she sings it so well. She does have a killer voice.
I hate to break your heart, but I've never seen Mulan. I'll have to add it to the list.
As punishment, you should have to watch the live action version first.
No, I heard you talking about it. I will never watch that. Phil, what's up, man? Good to see you. Oops. Vodka chess. I will never play vodka chess. That does not. I mean, I don't like vodka to begin with, but you know, that's.
I played it wrong. Yours.
What?
Well, you have different size shot glasses that you fill with vodka. So we had like an expensive bottle of vodka and a cheap bottle. So we mixed them up so you didn't know which one you were getting.
Oh my gosh.
So the pawns are just small chess ones. That's fine. They're just small shot glasses. But what we were doing is when my piece was taken, when I was taking a piece from the other player, I was drinking their piece that I was taking. Whereas it should have been them.
It should have been the other way. Yeah. So you got drunker as you were doing better. That's not, I mean, that may be a handicap thing. You know, that might be okay.
Yeah, but if you play it right and you're good at it, I suppose you'll be all right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So my wife is very disappointed because she loves Mulan as well. And she says, you don't know the Mulan song. I mean, I'm sure I've heard it. I just have never watched Mulan. So I know she loves it. So I'll put it on the list. Okay. Last question of the either ors. And this is the toughest one. I saved the toughest one for last. Tom Hardy or Cillian Murphy?
Tom Hardy.
They just Shane. We are Shane. We are so in tune.
Tom Hardy. I mean, if you haven't seen Bronson, check it out. It's
Have you seen Locke? Where it's just him in a car on a phone for like an hour and a half, and it's fantastic.
No, I've not seen that, but I do like films like that. I love phone booths.
It's so suspenseful. It's like, but you watch it and you're like, holy shit, there's like an hour and 15 minutes, but he's just been driving in a car on a phone, like talking to his wife, and it's so good. Check it out.
I definitely will. I will watch anything with him in it. Fantastic.
Tom Hardy is my man crush. Love him. He is. He's my favorite Peaky Blinder for sure. That was.
Oh yeah.
By
but
far,
to be fair to Cillian Murphy, he does star in one of my favorite films again, Red Eye. So he gets some points.
Yes. Okay. No, I mean they're both great. You can't go wrong with either of them. But I think the correct answer is obviously there's a correct answer, and everyone knows it's Tom Hardy.
When he played the Cray twins, that was fantastic.
I didn't see that one. I heard it was, but maybe he was great.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Like Capone was really a terrible movie, but he was really, really good in it. Right?
And that's what's crazy is like you can have amazing actors, but like movies are so hard to make. Like if you really think about it, how many?
I've never made one. I don't know.
Me either, but you know, there's so many people involved that like. That could fuck it up throughout the whole process that you're like, it's amazing.
Josh Whedon.
We're not getting into that on this stream. I'll say that. This stream is going to be long enough without getting into that. But I think I heard a quote one time. It was like, good movies don't get made, they escape. And I think it was Ross Ritchie. I was watching an interview with Ross Ritchie from Boom Studios, the CEO there, and he said that, I think, is where I heard it. But I was like, holy shit, that's so true. Like, you think about from how many people's hands are in it, and then the actors, and then how they edit it, it can completely change the movie. We obviously saw that recently with Justice League. So it just is crazy to me that there are any good movies out there, or TV shows for that matter. So
yeah, you get that a lot of the time as well. You find that people are given properties to make a film or make a TV show, rather than being a fan of that show and going after it to make it. They're just handed it to do.
Charlie, Geeky Comics is my favorite Peaky Blinder. He is a great Peaky Blinder. I when I saw him in season 3, I was like, "There's Geeky Guy."
Stealing everyone's comics and Funko Pops.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to our first topic. So for anyone who's just joining us, or this is obviously the first episode, so we're going to explain what's going on. That was just the kind of get to know you portion. And now I have sent Shane, prior to this, 5 categories. That's 5 categories, and he has to show off. It can either be a single comic, it could be a run of comics, a trade paperback, a graphic novel, anything really that fits this category. But my intent was to make you think about what in your collection you enjoy or like, but also so that I can find new stuff to read. Because after you suggesting and then reading from like the Nerd Herd, like Harleen. Before Harleen, I did not really care about Harley Quinn. She was not someone that I really... There's a lot of villains in Batman, and I just didn't really have any interest in finding out more about her. And then I read Harleen, and it was just so good. And so I have really tried to open up. Phil, this is getting odd now. I'm trying to open up and find out more stuff for me to read. So with that in mind, the first category is favorite artist or art, favorite art or artist. So with that, what have you brought to show?
See, now, some people might find this really easy, and some people will find it really difficult. And I was in the second category because I'm like, I love everyone. And I was like, how do you pick one favorite art or artist? Well, how do you pick one favorite artist when there are so many good ones out there? So then it hit me. All the conventions I used to go to, and I used to get comic books signed by the writers and the artists. Only one of the artists that I went to get a book signed from did I also have to have him sign a picture from inside that comic, because I absolutely loved it. So my favorite artist is Ian Churchill.
Hold on, we're gonna highlight this. Oh man,
so this is signed by Ian Churchill.
Oh,
and there's a page inside as well that I had to have him sign, because it was the art inside is gorgeous, but his art is fantastic. I love this book for so many different reasons, but this panel here with
oh my god,
so I had to
so
he
cool.
signed it down there as well for me. I love this page so much. Not just because Supergirl's getting twatted by Batgirl, but I love Barbara Gordon, and to see her back again after so long, because this is from 2005. So by this time she'd been Oracle for so long, and she was only appearing in back issues. But another reason I love this so much is because it's the very first time he's ever drawn Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
So we see Harley in this book as well. Where is she? There's Harley. And
oh man, she's creepy kind of looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just done so well. But the faces, I mean,
so this is from Superman, Batman. What year was this?
This was 2005.
2005. Okay.
Yeah, this is the first. This is actually this is reprinted in Supergirl's run as issue 0. I do love my heroine.
We all know that Shane loves his heroine.
But yes, that issue is special to me for multiple reasons. But the art, that's the only page in a comic book I've got signed by an artist, because Ian Churchill's art is fantastic, and he's such a nice guy.
Awesome. What other books or runs has he been on? Because I'm not familiar with Ian Churchill.
Well, he did this issue of Batman Superman.
Okay.
Sorry, Superman, Batman. Superman's name's first in this run, and then he moved over to Supergirl. So he did the first story arc for Supergirl. So you
Okay.
get to see him draw not only Supergirl, he draws Lex Luthor, Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, the Teen Titans. He draws Cassandra Cain, Batgirl. So you get to see him draw a massive array of the DC characters, and every single one is absolutely stunning. I can't say enough good things about his art. If you just literally Google, he does a really good run on I think it was Deadpool, or it might have been the Hulk. I know I've seen some covers of his that I want from Marvel as well, but I have mostly been focusing on DC stuff. But to have him on one of my favorite books as well was a massive bonus.
That's always cool, because like I think about that, and that's a cool sort of thought experiment, is like, who is someone, like either a writer or an artist, that you have never seen on some book, and like that you would love to see, and it's so hard to think about that, because a lot of people, jump around and do stuff, but when that matches up and your favorite artist goes on your favorite book, or does your favorite characters, is always cool. So that's awesome.
He's fantastic. Just Google his work, and guaranteed you'll find him on someone that you love. So maybe you can pick up a comic.
So you saw him multiple times, you said, at like Comic Cons?
Yes, he came over, and because we don't get very many Comic Cons over it, like in London. I mean, I can travel to Birmingham and Manchester and stuff, but it's a bit of a trek. So in the centre of London, I go to.
Okay, what's a bit of a trek for you? I want to know, like, how.
A trek is like 5-6 hours in the car. That's a bit much.
Oh,
that's
driving how fast? Like,
oh, it's London, so you can barely hit 30.
Okay, I'm just trying to put it in perspective, because like, okay, so
once you hit the motorway and you can do 78, it's fine.
Because like Chicago is 6 hours away from here, so okay, that's a bit of a trek. I agree with you. That's a bit of a
day. If you're making a weekend out of it, then absolutely.
It's a leave Friday afternoon, get late, spend Saturday, Sunday, drive back or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely fine. But for the day, for a few hours at Comic-Con, especially if you have to get there stupid early in the morning,
Yeah, that's something I haven't ever experienced, is a con, because I got in and out of comics and was never like fully in the way I am now, I guess. And then now coronavirus, so there hasn't been any. So it's going to be interesting to see when, things obviously start back up, and, things can happen.
To see if they'll still allow so many people in and queuing up for an autograph and stuff like that.
It's okay. So think about this, is like, you have all these people together, and like, now, having gone through all of this, all you see is like, man, there's way too many fucking people here. Like, there's just too many people here. I don't want them around me. Can we keep the 6-foot rule? Can you stay away? Like,
I wanted that every con anyway, because people they just cram far too many people in, and it's always in summer, and there's never aircon. It's crazy in there sometimes.
And then you think about like all these bins, all these bins that people are just getting their greasy Cheeto fingers in, and like, I don't know how I feel about it.
The thing about cons, though, I mean, like 90% of people already be wearing masks, aren't they? Because they go with their favorite character. 80% of those are Deadpool, so it's fine.
And all the women are Harley Quinn. So, from what I hear, anyway. Okay, that's awesome. I can't wait to check him out, because I'm sure I will find something that I'll love. So we'll move on to our second topic, and that's going to be favorite writing. So this doesn't necessarily have to be the favorite issue. It could be, your favorite writer on his or her favorite book or whatever, but just favorite writing. So what did you bring for favorite writing?
My favorite writing is by someone you've read recently, Peter David.
Oh,
so
let's look at this one. Let's show
This is Many Happy Returns. This is the final 5 issues of the Linda Danvers Supergirl, created by Peter David himself.
So Peter David wrote Young Justice, what I just read, right? Okay.
Yes. And at the same time, he was doing Supergirl.
Okay. Was this the same vein of like funny, mocking? So
No.
this is serious, Peter
This
David.
is incredibly serious. He, at the time this started, Supergirl was, I don't know if you know, she was a Matrix protoplasmic being from an alternate dimension.
I don't know anything about Supergirl. This is why I'm doing this show.
Well, so in the 80s, in the late 80s, Kara died during Crisis on Infinite Earths, and for a few years there were no Supergirls. We had no female version of Superman until I think about 92, 93. We got the protoplasmic version. She's just a pink piece of goo from an alternate dimension that was saved by Superman, so took on the female form of Superman, basically. She could turn invisible, she could shapeshift, and she had telekinesis. And she was a bit of a boring nothing character. She had nothing to her, no substance, no character arc or anything. So Peter David was given Supergirl, and he was given that version of Supergirl. So he decided to completely change the character. He had her, so this girl here in the white t-shirt is Linda Danvers. She was a young girl who was on the wrong side of life. You know, she was doing bad things. She had joined a cult and she was going to be sacrificed. So the only way to save her was for this Supergirl to sort of merge with her. So she turns into goo and merges with Linda Danvers, and they become one character. And oh my God, the writing in the book is fantastic.
This is crazy. They merge into one character.
Yes, and she loses half her powers. She can no longer turn invisible. She still has her telekinesis. She can fly. She's invulnerable. And the only shape-shifting she can do is from Supergirl to Linda Danvers. So she drops down a foot.
Oh, so she's not all the time. She can go back and forth. Oh.
No, the only change in Linda is her eyes are now blue, and she has superpowers when she turns into Supergirl, and it's absolutely fantastic. So it's a story about a being that is just energy that gains a soul from joining with a human, and a human who was making all the wrong choices in life becoming a hero.
Do they explore like the soul having like a consciousness, or and the goo like influencing that and that kind of stuff?
Yep, everything is explained. I mean, his writing is fantastic. So he created this character and he explains it, like you say, the soul and the protoplasmic goo.
Yeah, the goo.
It creates something so new and so unexpected that the Supergirl becomes an Earthborn angel because of it, and she gains new powers. And at one point, she separates from Linda, and they become two beings again. And Linda has superpowers now, and this protoplasmic being who has had a soul is now an angel. And it's so beautiful. The things this woman goes through, because if you haven't read Many Happy Returns, this woman sacrifices everything to save the entire universe. And this book makes me cry.
Oh, yes. I love it.
I read this book before I'd read the entire run. I got this first because I love the cover. I love a Supergirl. And I read this and it made me cry. And then I went back and I read the entire 80-issue run. I collected them all.
So where does this fall?
Final 5 issues.
You start at the end?
I didn't know at the time. When I started collecting, it doesn't say like volume 7. It just says Many Happy Returns. So after reading the 80 issues that built up to this, it made me cry even more.
No kidding. If you cried the first time.
Not even knowing the character. It's fantastic. And the art inside is gorgeous. I mean, the cover's done by, I think the cover's by Jim Lee. Yeah, he does some great artwork.
See, like, as if I didn't need any more reason to read it now.
And yeah, that Peter David he's written 2 of my favorite runs, and that's Young Justice and Linda Danvers Supergirl.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Okay. You've sold me. No more. I get it. I'm gonna.
Yeah, you've read one of his. You've read his fun side. Now read his serious side.
This is the problem, is that I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna have 5 more books to add to the list that like everybody brings. Okay, I love it. Love it. Let's go on to guilty pleasure. So this one can be. it doesn't have, it doesn't need to be great. It just needs to be fun. There's lots of books out there that that aren't great, but you still love them. So let's see what you got for guilty pleasure.
This was harder than you think because there's so many bad books that you enjoy out there. Like it's really hard. I was like, what do I pick? I was like, at first I was going to pick like I Hate Fairyland, but I was like, that's not a guilty pleasure.
I loved it.
So
forget all those nerd herders that didn't love it. I don't know if Scott's still here, but you guys, you know what? You need to get some culture in your life because I Hate Fairyland is great, and
so I couldn't put it under guilty pleasure. So I chose Headlopper from Image.
I have seen this so many times and almost read it, and I haven't. So
it is so good. So this is Norgal. He's a warrior that goes around and...
Let's go back. Let's highlight this. Okay.
This is Norgal. He's like a warrior for sale. You pay him and he'll come and clear your village. And he likes to chop people's heads off, hence the name Headlopper. Gotcha. And when he went up against Agatha, this witch here, she was such a powerful witch that even cutting her head off didn't kill her. So to keep the world safe from her, he carries her around with him, and she's a snarky bitch and she's hilarious. She still has some powers. She's not like super powerful anymore. She can kind of help him now and then when they're fighting, if she's in the right mood, if he hasn't pissed her off that day, because the back and forth between them is hilarious. The attitude that she has, I mean, the art inside is very cartoony, but it's done.
It looks like it, but that's okay if it's good. I can forgive simple art if the story's great. So
I mean, but Agatha's done very well. It's just other things like that's a very simple looking wolf. I love it. Environments are fantastic. Norgal does lose a lot of he'll lose a lot of detail in some panels. I mean, he's just literally a beard there, but the writing is so much fun. But it is a stupid book about a guy that goes around chopping people's heads off. So it had to go on.
So are you thinking that this is a guilty pleasure because the art is very simple? Is that why you qualified that, or is it just?
No, I think it's also the story is very silly. It's very silly and fun and throwaway. This isn't a book that I rush out to read every time it's out. I'll pick it up and I'll get to it when I have the time. It's not one of the ones that I have to read every Wednesday or when I get it.
Okay.
But going back, I don't regret reading them each time I get them. I tend to wait. They're done in 4-issue lots.
Okay.
So I tend to wait until I have the whole story before I start reading. But
so I'm assuming
this is a throwaway book.
I'm assuming Mills and Boon is alcohol. Is that Mills and Boon? What is Mills and Boon?
I've heard the name. Why do I not know what Mills and Boon is?
I don't know. Phil, what is Mills and Boon? I thought it was like some cheap scotch or something, maybe. I don't know. And then Andy, of course, Comic Deal is my guilty pleasure. He is definitely guilty of something. I don't know if it's a pleasure, but I've seen Headlopper, and I might even have some of it because I did the Image Humble Bundle. They did a Humble Bundle, and you got fucking 60 issue 60 trade paperbacks in this Humble Bundle for $25. Oh, wow. And I think there's a Headlopper in there, if I'm not mistaken, but I haven't read it yet.
Give it a go. It's really decent as
Romance novels. Phil, you big softy, Phil. I knew it. That big beard of his is just, he's a big softy.
There's no page count, but it's a really thick book.
Yeah, it looked like it.
It's only $6 an issue as well, which is great. But it's worth reading just for the fun factor of it.
I mean, I get it because you can't have super deep philosophical stories every time. You can't.
You don't always want that.
You can weigh on you.
A palate cleanser, don't you?
Yeah. That was why I don't know, maybe I Hate Fairyland hit me just right at the right time, but I just breezed through it. I loved it. It was so fun. It was just fun. And I agree now that we're talking it out. That could be a guilty pleasure, but I don't think it's you know, some people have the connotation that guilty pleasure is something you're not supposed to like, but I think you're right. Guilty pleasure just means it's not super deep. It's just something fun, and you know, like you said, the story is not gonna keep you up at night. It's just fun to read.
Yeah, and after every issue, you're not waiting. Oh, I wonder what's going to happen next. You know what's going to happen next issue. He's going to cut people's heads.
He's going to cut off some more heads. That's that Headlopper. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I'm in for that too, because again, you said it. Now, are the 4-issue arcs? Do you need to read them in order, or can you pick up any 4-issue arc, or what? What do you? How do you read it?
Well, I think you can read them in any order, I suppose, because you learn all you need to know about him and Agatha straight off the bat in most of them. Reading, I think you do for the later 4-issue run because it has characters from the previous one. But you can skip the first one and jump into the second one. But I would read the first one because the first one is the best.
Okay.
Because it is just Nora.
Fair enough. You just want me to buy more and more crap. I know. It's okay. Okay. So love that. Got another great one. Next up is Hidden Gem. So this one can be something that no one knows about, or that not enough people are talking about, or people don't mention it, you know, and you're like, man, I love this run, and no one ever talks about it. So what did you bring for your Hidden Gem?
I bought a book that I found, and I do suggest it to everyone. I try to get everyone to read it because it's one of my all-time favorite horror books. It's called Self-Storage from 451 Media.
Self-Storage. I have not heard of this.
It's only a 6-issue run.
Okay.
And it was from 2015.
Okay.
And it's by 451 Media, which is funded or produced by Michael Bay.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
And it's the cross between my two favorite things, which is Storage Wars and zombies.
Wait, what? Okay, hold on. So you love Storage Wars, the TV show? I love
Storage Wars. Storage Wars Texas is my favorite, but yeah, I love Storage
Wars. What about Storage Wars? Do you like the hunts of like?
Yeah, I like seeing I want to know what's in all those storage containers, and I also want to know, why do people leave thousands of dollars of stuff in a storage container? If you couldn't afford the rent, take the stuff back out, or take the value.
Okay. Are storage units or storage facilities a big thing in the UK? Because they're fucking everywhere here, like everywhere.
They have been popping up recently everywhere over here as well. Yeah,
I think it's got to be like, I mean, it's got to be like an American thing that like we have so much shit in our house that we have to buy a storage unit to fit more of our shit in,
rather than just get rid of it, rather than
just donate it, sell it, get rid of it, anything. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I've used a storage unit for when I moved out of my house and didn't have a house at that time and was living, so, you know, like in between. But like some people just like store their shit long term in there. So
that's what you see. You see like an entire kitchen, an entire living room, an entire bedroom. It's like, if you've got rid of this stuff, why are you keeping it?
So here's the next question I have for you, because we're not even going into this comic yet. Okay. Are you okay with the fact that most of that is probably staged?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. We're all good. Okay. So this is kind of like this is a guilty pleasure too, like your TV show. Okay.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, you know.
So now, how do we go from Storage Wars with what?
So it's set in a self-storage container. So it's set in the building, which is a self-storage place, and the guys go there when someone hasn't paid the rent to buy a locker. Just like in Storage Wars, they go up for grabs, don't they? So a group of people go there to get a storage locker, and a few lockers down from the one that they're buying, there's a zombie in there.
That's amazing.
So someone has been keeping a zombie in a storage locker, and she makes noise in there. So the owner of the place opens up the locker to have a look, and she gets him. So she infects him, and then
it goes from there. And then
and it's not just a really good zombie story. It's not just a really good character story. It's actually a really good love story as well, because the main guy falls in love with the zombie. when he learns her backstory and why she's in the container and what happened to her. And
so these are intelligent zombies. These are not.
She is kind of intelligent, and
Okay.
like when she's super hungry, she's not. But
Okay.
but the ones she makes are just brainless zombies, and the art inside is absolutely fantastic.
Okay, hold on. Let's highlight this guy. All
It's
right.
black and white.
Oh yeah, so it gets real gritty and.
But
Yeah.
it's shaded and it's got tones to it, and it's not like The Walking Dead, which is just plain black and white. It's actually done really, really well. This is the main guy down here, Tyler.
Hey, there we go. It sounds great already. It's got a Tyler in it, so it's probably the best comic ever written.
It's absolutely one of my most favorite hidden gems, and I do every time someone goes, "What's a good horror story to read?" And I go, "Self-Storage," and they go, "Never heard of it."
There you go. I mean, this is what because I'm sure everybody has one of those. You know, like everybody's got some story that like they love or is great, but no one knows about it. From maybe an indie or you know, a publicated, you know.
Yeah, and 451 Media, I mean, it's not there anymore. It literally brought out about, I think it was like 6 or 7 titles, and that was it. And they were all short runs.
Okay.
So it's not still going, which is a shame, because the quality of their books was through the roof.
And I mean, I have to assume with Michael Bay, like they had funding and stuff, so the quality is probably, you know, at least like the production value is there. Yeah.
Yeah, the books themselves are really high quality.
Wow, and that's so cool.
They all come with a digital card on the back. That card, it doesn't work anymore.
I was going to say, this is old.
You used to tap the card against your mobile phone screen on the website, and it would give you free stuff. So you get free digital copies of the book. You get.
So they were like trying to do something original, like trying to change that up. That's awesome.
Yeah, really cool.
So, well, you already have Phil. He says, I want to read this. And then he said, falls in love with a zombie. What a pervert. But I mean,
it's more like he falls in love with the person she was before she was a zombie. Like, because when he finds out who owns the storage locker, so he goes to see them. Why do you have a zombie? Oh, she wasn't always a zombie. And he learns the backstory, and it's just written and done so well.
That's like, have you seen Warm Bodies?
Yes.
With Nicholas Hoult? Yeah. That sounds kind of similar, but that's like, that was why I was asked, because there's like, he's an intelligent zombie. I didn't mean intelligent, like, you know, he's not Einstein, but he's still aware versus like the zombies, you know. So that's probably going to be the thumbnail now. And Perpetual Comics, Andy, I set up a YouTube channel to store all my shit video ideas. We know. Some of us.
He put an asterisk in there, but still put all the letters.
I didn't even. Oh, Andy, you are a gem, my friend. Comic Bound, I thought you weren't hanging around. Someone intelligent, but not one hungry. I can relate. You get hangry. And then Liam says, definitely going to pick this up. Sounds like Beth would love as well. So there you go. You got some more people. And Highland G wants to know how long the series is.
It's just 6 issues.
6 issues. Okay. Did they ever put out like a trade or anything, or is it just issues?
I've been looking, because I have the individual issues, but I'll buy the trade as well, because I want to support it as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I would definitely buy a trade as well.
Who was the writer on that? Did you say?
The writer is Clay McLeod Chaplin.
Okay.
And the art is by Matt Timpson.
Okay.
And they did a variant cover for issue 1, which I have, and it's signed by Clay McLeod Chaplin as well, which is awesome.
That's sweet.
So
I love finding that kind of stuff, you know, because everybody has to start somewhere, and who knows, maybe they get super huge one day and you're like, man, I got this first one, and
I mean,
great,
with art like that, I don't know how they're not doing more things.
It's funny to me too, because like I think in the past we got to a point where it's like, oh, if you aren't writing for DC or Marvel, you aren't shit. And now it's like the opposite. It's like everything great is coming out of independent publishers and like upstarts and all this stuff. Is like there's just so many options now to get your stuff out there that, you know,
Kickstarter and all those sites are just killing it, aren't they? I mean, they're getting hundreds,
And
thousands.
I mean, I've read, great stuff out of Aftershock, Scout, all AWA Upshot, like all these. There's a bunch now, which is great because options are better for us as fans. I think,
Yeah, absolutely. Just because you're the big two doesn't mean you own every fan, and nor should you. You should, if you have, when you get a monopoly, which is what happened, DC and Marvel thought they owned the entire comic community, so they just started putting out whatever they wanted. And then other publishers came along and went, how about we give you a good story for a change? How about we give you some nice art for a change? And fans went, yes, please.
Yeah.
This has been lacking for 10 years, and then DC and Marvel for a little while started worrying, and then they stopped caring again. And it's a shame because when they're in that worry stage, they put out good things. I mean, that's how we got Court of Owls.
I know. And it's interesting to me because I think that, especially with Marvel, the way I look at them is they make movies and comics are just kind of there because I feel like that's the way they feel. I mean, and I get it. Like movies make the money, probably. I don't know for certain, but I would assume that the movies make way more money than any comics. So
because non-comic fans go to see the movie.
Exactly. And I've heard this on a bunch of people talk about this, but why do we not get a free comic when we go see a Marvel movie? Why do you not have comics in fucking grocery stores? Why do you not have comics? And they finally started doing the Walmart thing where they put the Walmart, comic packs in there, but only scalpers are buying them. It's not for people to go buy, but Comic Man, Adam, I'm glad you survived your walk home. Yeah. I didn't know how long the stream was going to be, and that's why I never set a time because whatever, we'll do it. Phil says another great 451 Media Comic Humbug Nerd Herd review on all good podcasts.
Oh, look at him pretending he enjoyed Humbug now. Humbug was my pick for the Christmas story. That was a 451 Media book because I really enjoyed that as well. After talking to other people who have read it, I can understand their views, but I still really enjoy it. They do some fantastic books. They do.
Awesome.
They do a Neverland book, which is a retelling of Peter Pan. Which is
I love Peter Pan, man.
Captain Hook's a tattoo artist.
That's awesome.
It's really, really good.
Well, whatever. I can rewatch the video and find out all these. I'm like, I'm gonna write all this stuff down while I do this show, and I'm like, I've got the video. I'll rewatch it and I'll get all the little notes. Okay, let's move on to the final genre and that category is favorite currently reading. So I don't know if I probably didn't explain this very well. This doesn't have to be currently coming out, just anything you're really into right now. So it could be something that is currently week to week, or it could just be, hey, I'm catching back up on this run from 10 years ago. So what did you bring for favorite currently reading?
I bought a DC Black Label book.
I love DC Black Label. So.
That is ongoing.
Okay.
And I do get it every month when it comes out. And it is Joker Harley Criminal Sanity.
Yes.
This, next to Harleen, is a fantastic Harley story. It's a must if you like Harley. If you like Harleen, then you'll really like this. It's a completely different character.
Okay.
She's a criminal psychologist that also profiles for the GCPD, and she's trying to find a serial killer that leaves his victims in art poses and art styles, chops them up into marionettes and hangs them from strings, or displays them in shop windows. And it's fantastic. The art inside goes from black and white to color when they're doing different aspects of the story. I don't want to spoil it.
I think I've heard this because I don't want to spoil it either, but I think I've heard about this where it's past and future, and they're different colors. And is that right?
So you get the present is in black and white,
really?
And then you get the past, which is in color.
Ooh,
and when you see the color, it's very, very art realistic.
Oh my god,
it's
like photorealism.
It's like, I think.
Look at that guy's face. I'm using my mouse like you guys can see that.
This guy is like,
yeah, that face
like
right there is like a freaking picture.
Gone through one of those comic apps to turn you into a comic character.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
It kind of looks like Harrison Ford. Does that?
I mean, just look at that. It's just breathtaking. It's just
damn it,
gorgeous to look at. Really interesting to read as you follow the clues and try and figure out everything. Yeah, Phil knows.
Joke. And he wants to know who the artist is. Art is outstanding.
It's Miko Soyan.
Miko Soyan.
And Mike Mayhew.
That's so this is, I mean, I know that Black Label is all like alternate universe, or they aren't in continuity. So this is like a different yeah, right, Adam. Totally thought you'd pick a Future State title. Yeah. There are some bright spots in Future State. Let's not shit on Future State too much. Swamp Thing was great. Swamp Thing was amazing. I love Dark Detective, but again, that might Scott. I don't think Scott's here, so we can talk about.
I just think Dark Detective just fell off at the edge, just missed the landing.
Yeah,
but it's kind of not their fault because they only had 4 issues. Like, I feel like every single story from DC's Future State was a middle, and that's it. There was no start and no end.
Okay, hold on. Before we get, because I have a theory and I want to talk to you about it. But before we get to that, because Joker Harley. So Joker Harley, what issue is that? Was that number 1 that you showed?
Or this is issue 1.
And what are they on right now?
8.
Okay, so you got to get some back issues for that one to get caught up to it, but it's totally worth it. Okay,
totally worth it.
I'm totally in because, like I said, after Harleen, I'm like wanting to learn more about it, and that premise of like her as a profiler for the GCPD sounds amazing. Yeah. When you were reading Next Batman, right? The first issue you reviewed, and you were very harsh on it because of the art. Do you remember that?
Some parts of the art I quite liked. I remember saying some of the art was quite retro looking and quite decent, but a lot of it was very
inconsistent.
Static. Yes.
Okay. My thought, because issues 2, 3, and 4 were so consistent, my theory is that they had that ready, and then someone higher up said, we got to have some sort of intro or something. And they were like, okay, let's throw this together because it's a different artist too, I think.
No, it's the same artist. That's what I don't understand. Artist? Yeah, because I had to go back and check.
It's so different.
It makes no sense.
What is that? But I was thinking
no, sorry. You're right. It's the same writer.
I think it's a different
artist, yeah.
Because it was, oh God, what's his name? He did the Batman universe because I just read it and I didn't know it. And I really liked his art in Batman universe. My wife just like randomly brought me home the Batman universe graphic novel. Never bought me a comic ever in her life. And she was like, I was at the bookstore and here's, I bought this graphic novel for you because it looked cool. And I was like, thank you so much. But I didn't know it was Batman universe. And I liked the art, but I can't remember his name. But anyway, but yeah, he did the first one. And then the other 3 issues were Laura Braga, I think, was her name.
It was
good.
Yes. Yeah. But the writing was different as well, though, somehow. Like,
that's
it was
what I mean.
Good
I think they did like, hey, you got to get this out, and we need an intro. We need a first issue because we can't just have 3 issues.
You can skip issue 1.
I know.
Because it has nothing to do with the story.
Which is probably what the writer did. And then someone said, people are dumb. They need to have more. So we need another issue to introduce them to these characters that we fucking know already. It's just someone else in the suit. Like, I don't know.
I don't get it because that issue 1 was so bad.
Yeah.
Like, it was just nothing. It was a nothing story. It was absolutely nothing. And then issue 2 come along and he was doing detective work. He was kicking butt.
It picked up so much more. It was actually fun. I didn't hate like what they did with him as a Batman, but it was so weird because like you think like, hey, this is Future State and you got to get everybody in on the first issue, and that one was just not the issue for it. Like it was just weird. What are you gonna do? But do you know about how they had like the 5G thing, and this was supposed to be 5G and all that? Like,
yes,
maybe this was already planned, and then it got scrapped, and then it got brought back because they already paid for that art and writing. Maybe that was it.
I mean, and they're kind of doing some of that with Infinite Frontier.
Infinite Frontier. Yeah. I don't
They've
know.
thrown Wonder Woman into the future. I mean, she's gone. She's not in any.
I honestly haven't.
Any current.
I haven't been keeping up with current issues at the moment. I'm just, like I said, I've been super busy with work and stuff. So, but Highland G, I'd rather consistent bad art than artists changing every few pages.
No, I agree. The art throughout a book should be consistent, because when you do that, it just takes you out of the story as you're reading. But then you have to figure out what character is what again, because the artist has a completely different style. Yeah, I agree. I would rather terrible art and get over it. And
well, like I said, Future State had some bright spots, and there were some good things in it that I really enjoyed. But overall, I would say it was not great.
No, you can. It has no relevance to anything. You can pretty much skip everything. And the ones that were good didn't have a great ending, because they didn't really have an ending. I mean, Dark Detective.
And that's the thing, is like, you can't do anything. I don't think any of the writers or artists are to blame. Honestly, I think it was just from the top decision.
But we've had mini events like this before. We've had like DC 1 million, and we've had, we've had stories that have spanned an alternate timeline or an alternate future, whatever you want to call it. But the story has been a complete story. So you could, if you're given two issues of Catwoman and you're told to do a story set in Future State where this, and this is happening, you can write a complete story like they did in Catwoman. Mm-hmm. You get the start of the Catwoman story in issue 1, and you get the end of it in issue 2. And they only had 2 issues. So if you have 4 issues, how do you not even finish?
And see, that's why I think it wasn't planned out. I think it was like, hey, we have this 5G thing, and we already paid for some of these stories.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Get what I'm saying? Like,
we're going to continue into issues 5, 6,
and 7. So then they were like, well, we'll just make this, and it doesn't have to be connected. But these stories, because like all the Batman ones are kind of connected, like even though they aren't, but like all the Magistrate stuff is all in there. So like maybe that was planned out, but then they were like, okay, we need more books for this Future State thing, and then we're going to put it together, but we've already got this stuff, so let's just say that it's not in continuity and it's not connected and blah 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 blah. And I just think it was just piss poor planning,
it was a complete mess, especially with the super title.
I don't know. I think I'm not an event person anyway. Like I just don't give a shit about events in general. But whatever.
There hasn't been a good event since Blackest Night. That was the last good one.
See, and that's why I'm like, I can just go read good shit. Like I can just go read good stuff instead of taking chances. But I think that was an absolutely fantastic first episode. So I really appreciate it. I don't want to get too long, with these episodes. I want people to actually watch them and click on them after the fact and check them out. Shane, I really can't thank you enough. It's been so much fun hanging out, talking to you. Thank you everybody in the chat that was hanging out with us. With this show, after every show, I'm going to do. Anybody who wants to jump in, send me a message on Instagram. We can hang out in the backstage after this. We'll hang out, chat for as long as we can, however late it is, wherever you guys are in the UK. But Shane, thank you again. Let everybody know where they can find you and what you got going on right now.
You can find me at Dawn of Comics everywhere, literally everywhere. Just type it into any form of social media.
You got it early.
I grabbed that name everywhere. It's mine. No numbers at the end. Just Dawn of Comics.
No periods, no spaces, no underscores.
Spaces, nothing at all.
Awesome.
And you can catch my quiz, which has this guy on it. And the viewer competition is still live. So you can enter the viewer competition if you want to win some prizes. If you can guess the answer, of course.
The first one, I could not. I didn't even try. I was like, I saw the first one. I was like, nope, not for me. But yes, it's been great hanging out with you. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for taking time out tonight to come hang out and be geeky and nerdy and talk about books that I'm going to end up buying in the next week, probably. So
it was super fun to try and figure out these categories. Like,
I was hoping that. Thanks so much, guys. I will, like I said, if you want to jump in the chat backstage with us, not live on the stream, so you don't have to worry about it. Just send me a message on Instagram at TBCollects and we'll hang out. Thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye.